Hey everybody, how you doing? Yeah, that sucked. Welcome to PHLY Flyers Postgame presented by Bet365. My name is Bill Matz, and I am joined in the Xfinity Mobile studio by Petey himself, the one and only Petey, Steve Peters, former video coach of the franchise formerly known as the Arizona and Phoenix Coyotes. Charlie O'Connor will be joining us on the Xfinity Mobile call-in line at some point or another. I really hope Tocchet blows up tonight. You know, I had so much good stuff to talk about like halfway through this game tonight, Petey. I was going to ask you about so many good, fun, inside things. Like, does this count as a money on the board game for Dvorak? And if it does he get to collect? Things like that. Does he get an IOU from everyone else? But no, a game the Flyers were leading 3-0 in less than 21 minutes turns into a 5-4 overtime loss in Utah to the Mammoth. Absolute freaking heartbreaker. I guess we have to start where it all went wrong. It starts with the late failed penalty kill. Noah Juulsen sticking up for a teammate, gets called for the extra 2 on the fight. They don't kill the penalty. That makes it 4-3. Late in the third with the goalie pulled, Garnet Hathaway cannot convert the empty netter. Utah comes down, ties the game with a few seconds left. Clayton Keller, well, we saw that one coming if you listen to pregame. And then the inevitable, the overtime goal. The Flyers are terrible at 3-on-3. They ice it a couple of times and get caught out there and give up the winner. Petey, I don't know where the hell to start. What just your general thoughts on this one? Let's start there.
It's frustrating, and you're angry as a Flyer fan, coach, player. A 3-goal lead on the road. By the way, that first period was really good.
Unbelievable.
Feet. We talked about everything we talked in the pregame show. Their feet have been stuck in the mud. They were flying. They looked like the quicker team, the better scoring chances. Arizona made some big saves in the first. Everything looked good. And then the second period, things started to slip away, and that's where you want that consistency. And all you need is one line, one player to stop the bleeding. And there was 5 minutes of, oh my goodness, Utah had the puck inside the blue line for an entire 5 minutes, and line after line after line of the Flyers just could not gain that momentum back. I at that point, ice the puck. I'm okay with that, but hit somebody. Get some physicality in the game. Do something. They ran around for 5 minutes, and that's where they get it goes to 3-2. And I will say, Tocchet's timeout seemed to be a good reset, and I thought they were going to get the game back. Stunned. 4-2 with 8 minutes to go. You got a 2-goal lead with 8 minutes to go on the road. You lock it down. You lock it down. And unfortunately, the penalty. We talked about this, Bill, and I know we're getting into the penalty on Juulsen. Sticking up for a teammate. I'm not a big fight guy, especially the stage fights. Sticking up for a teammate, drop the gloves all day long. I want to see it. I want to see you protect your teammate. I'm okay with that fight. But on the bench, everybody's got to go, hey, we got to kill this one for Juulsen. We got to kill him for sticking up for our teammate. This is one we got to kill. And in the room, you feel it when there's one you have to kill, like a dumb tripping penalty or hooking penalty because you're slow. That's one thing, but your teammate sticking up for another teammate, everybody's on the bench going, hey, we got to get this one. We got to kill this one off. And to not be able to do that in that moment, turn the tide here. And we all know it. Like, Hathaway's got to score. Like, for the blue line in, I know the puck doesn't settle down. I watched it 2 or 3 times after the game. The puck doesn't settle down. He's trying to settle it down. Unfortunately, he's just not hearing the footsteps. He doesn't hear Schmaltz coming. This game should have been 5-3 at that moment. This thing should have been over, and we should be going home and almost getting ready for bed right now, Bill.
No, we should be halfway through postgame right now, without a doubt.
Yes.
It has been, so I want to start there. We hear all the time, like you just said, there are penalties you have to kill. And the broadcast says, like, after that fight, because Juulsen didn't exactly win that fight, but the fact that he did it, the fact that he sticks up for a teammate and like 9 guys go over to the box and are like, way to do it, brother, way to stick up for us. That's what a teammate is. Those are the penalties you have to kill in a game in which the special teams should have been like, my game changer or unsung hero, one of our sponsored segments was going to be special teams, and then it failed them at the worst possible time. He gets the extra 2 for the rough. I guess that's the alternative of the 17 minutes worth of penalties you get for the instigator. I don't know how this is enforced because honestly, every time the Flyers are in a fight sticking up for a teammate, it's either, oh yeah, it happened to Michkov the other night. He got the 2 for roughing. We always see, oh yeah, well, someone got hit and you started a fight because of it 17 minutes. That's what happens. And then when it happens to the Flyers, I'm not here to blame the refs. This was not on the refs. It's just a minor frustration of mine because this seems poorly officiated, like this one specific thing on the whole. But they don't kill that penalty. And then, okay, it's 4-3. You still have the lead. The net is empty. Garnet Hathaway, 1 goal, 1 point on the season. I get it. He wants to leave, no doubt. He wants to make sure he gets this thing because it's been a rough go for him this year. I have been a fan of Garnet Hathaway since he signed with the Flyers. He's been an entertaining player. He's been a good fourth liner for them. I don't know if I've ever been more mad in any single moment since, like, I don't know, Patrick Kane scored in 2010. I was legitimately screaming at the television. My dog was upset. My wife didn't know why the hell I was so upset. It was, I guess I can put it all on that, but, you know, you still just, what if you just don't give up the game-tying goal? What if Sanheim puts that puck into the corner and they live to fight another couple of seconds? What if they don't just lose in overtime, icing the puck a couple of times? This was what could have been, to me, the most important win of the season. They end the 6-game losing streak on Monday. They beat Vegas. They get outplayed, but they win an ugly game thanks to the singular effort of Travis Konechny and a little bit of Sam Ersson. Tonight, all right, win 2 in a row. Now it's a winning road trip. Good for you. Hell yeah. Now you're playing with house money going into Colorado. It's all behind you. And I feel worse about them than at any point during the 6-game losing streak because, my God, you're up 3-0 21 minutes into the game. You're up 4-2 with 8 minutes left. How do you lose? How does a team recover from this, Petey?
Yeah, this is going to be hard. This is really going to be hard because guess what? You're flying to Colorado now.
Yeah.
The likelihood of them getting a 3-0 lead in the first period against the Avalanche, the best team in hockey right now, is pretty slim. So you have to take care of business when you have that opportunity on the road. Hey, there's no excuse. They had 14 shots in the first period. They were the better team in the first period. And the second period, the shots are even. I thought other than that 5-minute stretch after they called the timeout, I thought they got their legs back underneath them. And a lot of things we said before, the north-south stuff. Even Michkov drove the outside lane on the left side, just like we talked about, got a shot on the near side. There are so many little things that I said are good, but what happens to the Flyers continually over and over and over again, it's the one little mistake, the 2 little mistakes. And you look at the inability for Andre to get the puck out. That's where Krause scores his goal. The first one, Peterson turns it over, and so does Sanheim. The Flyers had the puck on their stick 4 times. And unable to get it out of the blue line before they gave up that first goal. And you talk about the overtime winner. My God, there were 3 major mistakes on that. And connecting me on the wall, just corral the puck. And if you can't corral the puck, stop the player. And then it goes up the ice. And Tippett over back checks. He almost runs into Ersson. He goes so damn far. Just stop. And your man now is Keller. Stay with Keller. And was it Drysdale or was it York on the ice at the very end? It was York. Close on Gunther. Get your stick on Gunther. Don't let Gunther make that pass to Keller. Those 3 little plays, and again, it ends up behind the Ersson's back again, and we sit there and look again at Ersson. Not his fault. Not his fault. Keller, it's a good goal, but you look up at the end of the day and it's 5 goals on 27 shots again.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Ersson a little more in depth later. But before we go to the first break, I'm going to get to tonight's game changer, driven by Elkin Chevrolet. Elkin Chevy, together, let's drive. I really wanted to highlight Christian Dvorak, and I'm still going to, because quite honestly, in an alternate universe, he had 2 goals and 2 assists, and the Flyers win 5-3. Like that's or 5-2. Quite honestly, it's that simple. Christian Dvorak, he scores his 11th goal in the first, puts the Flyers up 2-0. I was very, very happy to see he actually followed through on a breakaway and didn't just drop pass it. That's been a signature move of his this year. Scores his 12th goal in the power play, makes it 4-2, and that was the bleeding stoppage they needed, because I thought they needed that timeout after the first goal, because it was like impending doom for a few minutes leading up to Utah's first goal, and then 36 seconds later they go up 2, and then Taka calls the timeout. But it was, I thought at that point, all right, next goal wins. Like that's the way this is going to be. Still a ton of time left, but it kind of felt this is a next goal wins sort of game. Whoever takes the momentum from here is going to take over. Dvorak gets his own rebound, buries it. It's 4-2. I really wanted to like sing the praises. Like, he was on the teams that you were part of the coaching staff for. So let's talk about that. We'll get into all the heartbreaking stuff. We did that the first 10 minutes. But all right, Christian Dvorak, 12 goals. He is now like 8 points away from his career high, 6 goals away from his career high in goals. What makes him such a good fit for Rick Tocchet?
He just goes about his business, and you've had the opportunity to interview him. If you've tried to interview him, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't say anything in the locker room. He doesn't say anything on the bench.
On the 4-2 goal was just like,
doesn't smile. No,
Yeah.
doesn't smile. That's who he scores those goals in a shootout. He was a shootout master for the Coyotes back in the day. That's the look after a shootout goal. And I think that's why coaches like him. You jump over the boards, you just play, and you try to play the right way. You play with energy, you keep your feet moving, you physical when you have to, you get pucks to the net, and you play the right way. You look at his scoring line tonight, 2 goals, the assist, and then go beyond that. He's 71% in the faceoff circle. He plays over 22 minutes. He's playing on the power play, the shorthand, playing in every situation. Jack of all trades. You love him. I mean, I don't want to give him a shot here, but you wish he wasn't your number 1 center. Like if you're on a winning team, Christian Dvorak's your 2 or 3, and then he's an outstanding 2 or 3. I think Tocchet likes him because he just plays the right way. There's no bravado. There's no, hey, little drop passes when he crosses the blue line. There's no straight-legged, hey, I'm just going to dipsy doodle around here. I'm going to play. I'm going to play hockey. I'm going to put my nose down. I'm going to play. I'm going to shut my mouth, and I'm going to play. And that's the guy you want to coach, because he's putting max effort out every time he jumps over the boards.
We were very critical when Danny Briere a couple of weeks ago signed him to a 5-year contract extension. I still don't know if it's smart to give 5 years to a guy who's about to turn 30, and you look at where the Flyers are, not that close. Like it's they seem further away than I thought 2-3 weeks ago. And maybe they can turn this around. They upset Colorado. It's going to be a party. I also don't see that happening, but I will say he really stood out tonight, and he was absolutely clutch tonight. That 4-2 goal, his second of the night on the freaking power play, which never scores. They somehow score 2 tonight. It was exactly what the team needed. He played a very, very strong game. I was pleased, to say the least, with Christian Dvorak, and I wish honestly we could be saying more good stuff about him, because the Flyers won, and Garnet Hathaway puts away that empty netter, and he gets the assist on that, and boom, it's a 4-point night for the guy. But I think you highlighted it well there when you talk about what this team is. He's 8 points away from his career high, maybe 7 now. 6 goals. We're 50 games. We're 49 games into the season. He's about to set a career high. That's probably not your number 1 center.
No, and the one thing I did want to say about the signing him through 29-30. First of all, $5 million by 29-30 is going to be what you're paying your guy that's sitting up in the press box. But we just said about this team lacking that veteran leadership experience guy. I know he's not vocal. He's not screaming and yelling on the bench, and I still believe they need that guy on their bench. But he is a veteran guy that plays the right way, and he is going to be a guy that these younger guys go, hey, that's a guy that just got signed a big ticket and he plays 22 minutes. Why? Well, because he's playing the right way, and so you want him on your team. But this team needs, you know what they need? They need old time Flyer hockey. Somebody to grab somebody in the locker room afterwards and go, what in the hell were you just doing? And you can go around the room. You talk about Andre's turnover, Sanheim's turnover. I think there's a lot of guys that really need to be sat down by a teammate, not the coach. Because when you get it from a coach, it's like, yeah, he's the coach. No, you need a player to go, what the hell was that? We had a 4-2 lead. How did we let this? That's a closed door meeting for me. And we laugh about closed door meetings in the media, but those closed door meetings, man, you should stand outside a closed door meeting with the players going at it. They can be absolutely vicious, and they need to be. And I'm not sure who that vocal guy is in that room. And I think it's an opportunity right now for one of those guys to step up and go, that's not good enough.
No, that's the thing is right now, man, this team seems like it lacks leadership. That's what I am seeing right now. A team that can't close these games, can't hold on to these leads, can't finish it off. You get this performance from Dvorak tonight. They needed it so badly, and it just goes to waste. They get a point. This loser point feels very much like a loser point. All right, we will be joined by Charlie O'Connor on the Xfinity Mobile call-in line in just a moment, but we got to take our first break. Let me tell you how my morning starts each and every day. It starts at my Wawa. Now, this is an ad read, but everybody watching by now has to know how much I love Wawa, and Wawa has given us yet another reason to love them. It's the $5 Big Breakfast Deal. For just $5, you can get any sizzly breakfast sandwich, any size hot or iced coffee, and a hash brown every morning from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's right, a breakfast sizzly, a coffee, and a hash brown for just $5 from your local Wawa. That's value, that's convenience, and that's deliciousness all together in one deal. And while you're picking up your coffee, check out the brand new Caramel Chocolate Craze coffee flavors. You can try caramel, try chocolate, or mix them together for a sweet treat that will start your morning off right. The $5 Big Breakfast Deals for a limited time and exclusions apply. See Wawa.com for details. No need to overthink breakfast. Just grab and go and get on with your day. You gotta have a Wawa, and let's go Flyers. All right, it's time for me to tell you about Xfinity and the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. What if I could offer you reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? Well, that's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together and that fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. Imagine Wi-Fi that lets you stream the game even when the whole family's online and has all your devices working in perfect harmony. And imagine all that for 5 whole years. And the best part, there's no annual contract, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment is included. Take it from me, a lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won, records are broken, but your Wi-Fi, it should stay reliable and the price should stay put. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only, restrictions apply. All right, we are now joined by Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor, on the Xfinity Mobile call-in line. He was in Salt Lake City for this disaster. Charlie, thoughts?
Well, it wasn't a disaster for about 50 minutes. They played a very, very good first period. The second period, yeah, they give up that long stretch of poor play, but then they do a great job responding. The power play comes through. Christian Dvorak with a great play to make it 4-2. I thought even the first half of the third period, they were playing. They weren't sitting back. They were attacking. They were creating chances. You had zegras nearly scores on a really big save. Tippett hits a post. Like they're pushing. They're playing. And then you have the second half of the third, and obviously into the overtime. And look, Garnet Hathaway's mistake, it's egregious. You have to put that puck into the net. It's one that, look, I saw him in the locker room after the game. Everybody was out of the room. He's still in full uniform, staring down at his skates. He knows he screwed up, and he did. You can't make that mistake. And the fact that he's been so bad this year, especially offensively, was playing a bit better after the scratches, but still 1 goal in 40-something games, not acceptable. No one's going to cut him any slack. But what I will say is that this loss isn't just on Garnet Hathaway. Look, he needs to put the puck in the net. He knows it. Everybody knows it. But there were a bunch of other players who screwed up at the end of this game, too. You have Noah Juulsen takes a penalty after Rick Tocchet earlier today says, discipline. I might scratch somebody if we're not disciplined. And I get it's coming from a place of wanting to defend Jamie Drysdale. But time and place, man. You can't take that penalty when you're trying to protect a lead in the third period. That's a first period penalty, or that's a game is out of hand one way or the other penalty. You just don't take that extra penalty. That leads to a goal. Then you have, and I think Rick Tocchet, not by name, but I think he was more or less pointing this out. Like Travis Sanheim gets burned on the final goal, and he needs to play that better. However, Travis Konechny tosses him a grenade of a puck. Like, Konechny cannot just toss that back into his own zone. He needs to either eat that puck or skate with it rather than put that puck in the hands of a teammate and putting him in a bad spot. Now, Sanheim should have played it better. Obviously, he should not have gotten scorched by Keller, but Konechny puts his buddy in a bad spot, and that's on Travis Konechny. Owen Tippett completely blows the coverage on the game winner in overtime. Like, they get that back to 2v2. That's not a 2-on-1 by the time he scores, and Tippett just doesn't recognize quick enough that he can cover that guy, that the other guy is fully covered. He is in control. Tippett has to cover Keller, and instead he gives him the space to have that shot wide open in the slot. Like, Garnet Hathaway, yeah, he's going to get a lot of grief for this, and you got to put the puck in the net. Like, he deserves a lot of grief for it. However, this was a full team effort of choke, and no one should be let off the hook for it.
No, I fully agree, Charlie. And you mentioned some of Tockett's post-game comments. I'm just wondering, this is now 7 out of 8 they've lost. Sure, they get a point tonight, I guess. The loser point, never been more aptly nicknamed than tonight, I believe. But what was the coach's demeanor? Because this goes beyond penalties or anything. It's just another undisciplined game for an undisciplined team.
Well, I think his demeanor essentially was, this team clearly doesn't know how to win. That in pressure situations, all too often, they shrink. And that's what they did. I think his word was sunk. They sunk in pressure situations. I think he meant that both figuratively and literally. I think literally he was specifically referencing the power play goal that they scored to make it 4-3. Everybody just sinks. They don't go out and challenge Guenther, who's a great shooter. Instead, they sink. Nobody goes out to block the shot, and then he rips one, bounces off somebody, I think, but he gets one past Harrison, makes it 4-3, puts them in that pressure situation to begin with. But they also sunk figuratively. This was a team that, collectively did not rise to meet the moment. And again, the truly frustrating part is that they played a really good game most of this game, but it doesn't matter if you're not coming through in the key moments. And in this game, far too many players just not only did not rise to meet the moment, they sunk against the pressure of the moment.
The sinking, like literally, is something you've heard me with the last couple of times we got to watch games together in studio. My comment is constantly, why is it so easy for the opponent to get through the neutral zone, especially like if the Flyers have a lead? Like, maybe clog it up like it's 1996. What the hell are they doing defensively that's just like basically conceding the blue line? It's like they have 5 Andrew McDonalds out there at all times.
Yeah, and again, I think this was more of a third period thing, because I did think that in the first and second, except for that stretch of maybe 6 or 7 minutes, they did do a good job of checking the neutral zone. They were tracking back well. There was a lot of back pressure. They were making it tough for them to move forward. They forced a lot of dump-ins. But then they have these lapses, and we've talked about it all year, Bill. We've been talking about this since October. The frustrating part about this team's brand of inconsistency is that it's not that they're inconsistent from game to game. It's that they're inconsistent from period to period. They're inconsistent from shift to shift. They'll have a 10-minute stretch where they look like world beaters, and then they'll have a 10-minute stretch where they look like an AHL team. That's the inconsistency, and you saw it rear its head in this game in the third period.
I'm mad about this for a number of reasons. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm mad for Sam Ersson. Like, Sam Ersson, I thought played a good game. And then you look at his line at the end, 22 of 27 for an .815, gives up 5 freaking goals. What did you think of Sam tonight?
Yeah, I liked his game for the most part. I will say that I thought on that third goal, and I do think it changed direction. I think it hit somebody going through, but I didn't. I thought one thing he was real good for most of this game was working through traffic, which has been a major problem of his all year. On that goal, he reverted back to the habits we've seen this year. He gets caught leaning, and even if that puck changes direction, maybe he stops it just by being in the right position, even if he can't see it. But because he's leaning towards the near post, he's a little bit out of position, and it puts him in a tough spot to stop that goal without being able to see it. Overall, though, I thought he was fine. Like, this was not a bad Sam Ersson game. This was not the games that we've been seeing from him from mid-December until last week. I thought he did enough to give the Flyers a chance to win this game, and they should have won this game. I'm not going to go so far as to say that he was failed by his teammates, because he could have made a save. He could have made one of those final few stops, and they could have won the game because it comes up with a big save. And in the end, you're paying the goalie to make big saves. But I do think that they let him down. I think he was not given the support at the end of the game that he should have gotten, and that's disappointing, especially given how good he was 2 nights ago in terms of, like, you could even say that he carried them to that win. Him and Travis Konechny, it would have been nice if they would have been able to push him to a second straight win. Instead, he's looking at a low 800 save percentage again on a night where I don't think anybody would put him in the top 5 of people to blame for this loss.
No, I fully agree. Go ahead, Petey.
Charlie, I want to ask you about a guy we always have to talk about here on PHLY after a postgame is Matvei Michkov. And Michkov, you look at, for me, it's his season high 7 shots on goal. So I actually saw him drive the left lane and he gets a shot off on goal. So there were some small things, but you look at the stat line again, he plays 12 minutes. He's -1. Didn't really add to the score sheet again. Is this a game that he can build on and maybe start to see some of the things we hope to see and expect to see from him offensively?
I think it can be. I think he was physically assertive in this game. I liked what he was doing in terms of separating with the puck from the defense, which has been an issue for him this year. I liked the way he was asserting himself physically without the puck. I thought he was asserting himself on the forecheck. He was providing back pressure. No, I liked a lot of what I saw from Michkov in this game. And it is disappointing to me that he only finished with 12 minutes because I thought he had a performance worthy of a lot more minutes than 12. Look, I get that he hasn't earned Rick Tockett's trust, and especially late in games, he's not going to get those minutes. I get it. But you would think that there was some way for him to get more than 12 minutes in this game. Like some way to get him out there for a few extra shifts, especially in the first 2 periods when it really looked like he was rolling.
Charlie, Tocchet did something he hasn't done maybe at all this season. I can't remember the last time he called a timeout. Yeah. I have been kind of harping on that through the losing streak, and tonight he does call one after that second Utah goal, but it seemed like a few minutes of building towards that first one, and they were just running around completely out of it for parts of that period leading up to that first Utah goal, and then they come back, score 36 seconds later. Do you think he should have called that timeout earlier, and do you know why he's resistant to use the timeout typically?
Yeah, I mean, timeouts are things that I can't get myself too hyped up about. Like, I do think there is an element of it where, like, Flyers fans in particular are really into the timeout because we all still remember the Peter Laviolette timeouts.
We lived through Lavi, yep.
Yeah, like it's become like a legendary thing. So it's not something that I necessarily put a ton of stock in. That said, I mean, he calls the timeout and they do halt it. It's 3-2, and I think Utah maybe had another couple good shifts, but then after that, the Flyers do slow. They start to stem the tide, and they ultimately take the 4-2 lead with a strong Dvorak play on the power play. So if you're a believer in the timeout, it ultimately worked. They don't score another goal again until the third period collapsed. So I guess props to him for calling the timeout there. If you want to say that that's what matters, it's one of those things where I have trouble putting too much stock into it mattered this much, because in a way it did matter tonight in that they did stem the tide, and then they end up losing anyway because they have another breakdown late in the third period. So I don't know. I get why it matters to you. I get why it matters to people. It's just not something that irks at me too much.
It was Charlie. A lot of these questions I wrote when I was like, "Oh, hey, what do you think about timeouts?" Because they won, they won 4-2 and everything's cool. Hathaway scores, it's all good. But unfortunately, I really felt your pain tonight as a writer because I had to start almost entirely over. I gotta believe you felt the same thing. One of those other questions is about offense from defense, Charlie. Another thing I've been crazy about. They get 5 points from the defense tonight. That's a lot more than they typically get. Has this been kind of all right, we need to start doing something else to create scoring chances and getting the puck back to the point, and York crashing down, that first goal that York scores, it's off of a Sanheim rebound. He's in the slot and York crashes down to get that rebound. Is it more activating the defense? Do you think that's kind of become something they're trying to do, or is it just tonight? Yeah, they got 5 points out of the D because they did.
I just think guys are maybe getting a little bit more confident in the system, particularly defensemen, because I don't think the Tocchet's system is, and Petey might be able to speak to this better than I can, but I don't get the sense Tocchet's system is especially overly conservative in terms of like, no, the defense would just stay up at the points and don't pinch and don't activate. Like, I don't think that's what he necessarily wants his defensemen to do. I just think the defensemen early in the season maybe weren't taking the risks that the system allows them to take, and now they're maybe taking them a little bit more. Like Drysdale had a couple decent plays on the power play, but Tocchet even noted after the game, he's like, yeah, first couple of power plays we were doing what we're supposed to do, and then we regress back to looking bad again. So it's again, this whole thing, it's like one step forward, one step back, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, and that's what this game was. Like, as you said, I guess they get a point. You know, they're 3 out of 4 points on this road trip. Like, they're playing Colorado, so they're probably going to lose that game, but who knows? Maybe they can spring an upset. But, you know, it's such a painful loss because, number one, the way you lose it. You're up 3-0, you're up 4-2, you blow it late. Also, you are playing Colorado in 2 nights. Like, you win the first game of the trip against Vegas, so you got those 2 points banked. If you beat Utah, especially in regulation, but hell, even if you find a way to win it in overtime, then
who cares?
You've won 2. You won 2 out of your three road trip games, coming off of a season high losing streak. Then it's like, yeah, you can lose 6-3 to the Avs, and it's no big deal. Now you lose the Avs game, and then suddenly that Vegas game feels like the outlier. And then you go back home, and it's like, well, we've lost. What would that be then? Like 8 out of 9 if they lose to the Avs. And then it's just a continuation of the losing streak that you thought you put in the rearview mirror by that strong performance in Vegas. They had an opportunity to do that, and they blew it tonight. That's what it boils down to.
All right, Chuck, I am just so baffled by this freaking game. I'm sure there's a lot more in-depth stuff we can talk about at some point. You're joining us on tomorrow's 4 p.m. show. Maybe I'll have gathered myself by then, but let's get to it. Let's get to Charlie O'Connor's 3 stars of the game. Who the hell is star number 3?
Yeah, these are the same 3 stars I had when I thought they were going to win the game. Because I really didn't give myself too much like time to think about like, well, what's going to change now that they lost, because I didn't think they were going to lose. But third star, even though he finishes with a bad stat line, I'm going to give it to Sam Ersson. I thought he had a good game. Yeah, you need to get one of those last 3 saves somehow. But again, I think as far as like people who are deserving of blame for this one, I think he's pretty far down the list, and I think he made a lot of big stops, especially in the first 5/6 of the game.
Yeah.
So I'll give Sam Ersson third star.
Charlie, we normally don't tweet out the stars after a loss, but I want Brenna to do it just so we can see the replies on a game in which the goalie had an 8-15.
Just so people can yell at me. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Like I haven't had enough of that the last few days.
You really haven't, quite honestly. Who is star number 2?
Star number 2, I really like Cam York's game. Obviously, he scores that early goal on a fantastic shift from that whole 5-man unit. But I thought overall he was, generally speaking, assertive in this game, made a bunch of good stops, made a bunch of good plays with the puck. I'll have to go back through the tape and see if he's to blame for any of the late game collapse, or if he really wasn't on the ice for any of the more egregious plays. But it didn't strike me that he was like one of the more obviously, at fault guys in the collapse, and I like the rest of his game. So I'm going to go with Cam York, second star.
And finally, the first star.
Yeah, Christian Dvorak. I mean, scores 2 goals, picks up an assist. That goal, like, one of my points that I make in my 10 observations is turning point of the game. The turning point of the game should be the Dvorak goal. It should be. Like, that should have been the turning point of the game, because it's 3-2, and it's the fact that it's on the power play. Like, the much maligned power play comes through and provides the spark that they have not been able to provide all year. That should have been the turning point of the game. Dvorak was real good in this game. As I said, scores twice, finishes with 3 points. Overall, I mean, he should be a first star that we're happy about. Instead, you're just angry because they blew it. And it doesn't matter that Christian Dvorak had a good game for the rest of the game. He was part of the group that blew this game.
They wasted what should have been a 4-point night for him. But, we move on to Colorado on Friday. Those are Charlie O'Connor's 3 stars of the game. And that has been Charlie O'Connor from Salt Lake City on the Xfinity mobile call-in line. Chuck, we'll talk for a bit tomorrow, and we will do this all over again on Friday.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Safe travels, my friend.
See you, Chuck.
All right, and with that, we now have to take our second break. Do we really want Matvei Michkov playing goalie? No, because it's not worth the risk, time, or money. It just doesn't make sense. You want to keep your stars focused on doing what they do best, and the same goes for your business. And Togo can help any business looking to streamline operations, become more efficient, or unlock more time for their best people. From customer service and accounting to order management, logistics, admin, and data entry, and even complex multi-step operational processes, Togo takes it off your plate at a fraction of the cost. And every engagement with Togo starts with free process mapping and engineering. Togo doesn't bill a dime until the real work begins, with programs starting as low as $1,000 a month, so you're not even going to break the bank. Each Togo program includes dedicated staff, custom automations, and US-based process engineers who act as your quarterback, giving you complete control, total transparency, and instant efficiency. At Togo, you call the plays, we execute. Visit harnesstogo.com. Scale smarter, work faster, and stay focused on winning. Everybody's got their favorite hard tea. It is the cool thing right now. But have you ever turned the can around to read what's inside? Well, most of the time you can't, because the others won't tell you what their tea is made of. And while others hide what's inside, Crooked Tea brags about what they've got, because Crooked Tea brews real USDA organic tea for real flavor with zero sugar. There's no fake junk hiding behind the label. What you see is what you drink. So next time you're at the store, flip that can. And if you can't find the ingredients, just put it back on the shelf and then grab a Crooked Tea, zero sugar, real tea, and fully transparent. Philly recognizes real. Don't drink that fake stuff. I just served a bunch of these at a holiday party I had. They were a huge hit. People love them. They come in a bunch of flavors. I'm partial to the raspberry. Check out what suits you best and crack one open. You know what you're getting because it's all on the can. Why drink the fake stuff? Crooked Tea. The only thing better is a strip sack in the Super Bowl. Visit crookedtea.com to find a store near you. Go Birds and let's go Flyers. All right, welcome back. Before we went to break, Petey, did I cut you off? Did you have something there?
No, just the frustration still boiling over. Because here's the reality. I do agree on giving it to Hathaway that much. I really do. This guy scored one goal this season. It's not Bobby Orr coming down on that one. I get it, but the puck's bouncing, and it was difficult to get a handle on it. He was just trying to get the puck to lay flat. So I won't get it on him. The team's got to close the door though. After that, even after they missed that, they've got to come through and get this win. Sorry.
And they had opportunities with the empty net after that.
Sealer, it's blocked out of the air by Keller. Like Sealer, Baird, but I don't know what it is about an empty net that we think just got to flutter that puck in. Send a rocket. Like make sure you score. Like if there's a player standing in front of the goal, fire the puck, shoot the puck. Like
it was such an egregious. Like that ends the game.
Yeah,
all right,
it really does.
We have to go to tonight's unsung hero presented by Togo. Togo, the leader in operations outsourcing. Let Togo handle the work that gets in the way of your work. You call the plays, we execute. Togo. This was going to be special teams, but unfortunately it didn't work. So I have to go with Matvei Michkov. He had 4 shots on goal in the first period, 7 overall. He gets those 7 shots in just about 12 minutes of ice time. I thought he played a pretty decent game tonight. There was a couple of shifts where he kind of looked like his last year self, owning the puck, taking over. He even had like a hit behind the net for a near takeaway tonight. He made some decent plays. He had some scoring opportunities, one right out in front that had he buried, it's a totally different night. But he's been, when he does make a play, snake bitten in terms of goal scoring this year. I liked overall the game Michkov played. He does finish -1. It's the Andre turnover that I believe Michkov got blamed for on the Flyers broadcast because no fault of Hartnell or JJ. Those two look exactly the same on the ice, both left-handed, 36-39. But I was like, oh, now he's getting blamed for stuff that isn't even him. What did you think of number 39's game tonight, Petey?
You know what? It's a starting point. I did see some of the things that we talked about his feet moving, and I thought he did a much better job of that than we've seen of late. And I like that he's throwing pucks to the net from everywhere because one of them is going to go in. And I like that he camped out in front of the net on the chance you were talking about, just outside the blue paint. And I was talking about the puck where he comes down the left-hand side along the wall and gets that shot off short side. There are bright spots here. However, this just goes to show how low the bar we have set on what we expect out of Matvei Michkov right now. That he got a few good shots on goal and he played 12 minutes. Like, come on. Like, this is the guy that we wanted to be seeing, a perennial 20 goal score, and you want to see the flash and the offensive upside. So I'm saying that it's a start. It's better. Feet were moving. Pucks are moving. This is a good start. Now build on it. Now going to Colorado, and I know that the cards are stacked against you in Colorado, but as an individual, you can do some of those things. Defend well against the speed and the skill and the size that you're going to see in Colorado. Still get pucks on net. Get to the net hard. You can still have those good habits. Today was a building block for him because I did think he was better today, but it's just a start. Now he's got to do it 2 games in a row, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 10, and then the goals will start to come. But that's the way he's going to have to play. He's going to have to, if he's going to be in this lineup and get 15, 18, 20 minutes, it's going to be with his feet moving, and he's going to have to get to the net.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a little like, man, last year we were talking about multi-point games. When's he going to get that hat trick? Like, those were the, man, close to, could have had 3 tonight. And this year it is very much like, maybe this is the building block, but I'm just crossing my fingers. One day he wakes up, remembers who he is, and all is well. With him, with this team's offense, he could help the power play a considerable amount. A couple of other things I want to get to before our last break, and we have a ton of super chats already, and you know how it goes. Once we start, more come in. Just a couple of thoughts. What did you think about that overturned penalty on the Liam O'Brien hit on Owen Tippett?
It's funny because I listened to the JJ on the broadcast, and one of the things that's difficult, and it's difficult for fans, coaches, players, is to really step outside of the situation and look at it from a point of view of an unbiased officiator. And I think as a video coach, it's part of something that I had to do in my job on a goalie interference call, for example. You have to take the bias of the game out of it. I looked at it the first time, and I know how Liam O'Brien plays. He's a physical guy, and yes, he sits in the penalty box a lot. So at first I go, uh-oh, this is trouble. The rest made the right call. I really believe that. I think his shoulder got into his chest. I do think he kept his arms down. I don't think the head was the initial point of contact. I think they got it right. I know as a Flyer fan, you're frustrated because you want to get a power play out of that. I think it shocked Tippett more than it hurt him. I don't think it was a direct hit to the head, and I do think O'Brien's arms were down. So I do think the call was the right call. Now, I know that's hard when you put your fan hat on. But I do.
I was right there with you, Petey. Like, you see it in real time and go, oh, because he's reaching, he's got his head down, guy comes in, and you see the higher follow through. But on all the replays, I was struggling to see where there even was the contact. It was like, all right, if he got him, it was in the chest. Maybe the follow through was a little high, but if you wanted to call a minor, I didn't think that was. It definitely wasn't a major. And it just sucks because that is from there where they made their first push in the second period. Like, after that hit, penalty gets overturned, building goes nuts, and then they take over for 5 or 6 minutes. So it was a rough moment, and you lose Tippett. He's got to go to the room because it looks like he may have been hit in the head, and he falls and like may have hit his head on the ice when he kind of like ducks out of there. I didn't think it was. I definitely maybe. Like, if he had lined it up better, I guess, like, if we want to say better, he could have caught him in the head, but he didn't. I really don't think he did. Like, and it was just, it was unfortunate all around that you lose the guy, you don't get the power play, and then Utah takes the momentum out of it.
Can I say something about Tippett too? Because I think there were some moments in this game where we saw what we wanted to see out of Tippett, including that post. I thought that was an excellent play that showed off his speed, but there was one moment in the third period where he did the Youngblood and he had the puck all the way around and he skates behind the Utah goal and you go, okay, he's going to wrap it. Nope. He's going to keep going. Okay. Maybe he's going to make a pass here at the top of the circle. Nope. He's going to keep going. Well, he's going to dump it back in from the blue line. Nope. He's going to keep going. He went all the way around, ended up having to defend a 2-on-1 going back the other way. It was a great display of speed, but I still don't know what the hell he was doing. At some point, you got to move the puck, Tippett. And ultimately, you see it in the overtime where he does get involved in that play, and he couldn't shut down Keller. So I did see again, it's little wins, and I did see some speed out of Owen Tippett tonight. So again, little wins, and you got to build on it, and you're going to have to build on it because you're going to come home to the Islanders after a long Western road trip and a tough game in Colorado, and you're going to have to get points. You're going to have to find a way to get points now because now you're starting to slide. This losing streak could really put you in a tough spot.
conference games, division games, they're going to be huge. Like, those are 4-point games. You're going to have to come away with them. But yeah, Tippett, the tools are all there, and he's made strides, but the decision-making still leads a little bit to be desired. All right, Petey, we have to take one more break, and then it's time for our Flyers Charities Carnival giveaway, as well as all of your Super Chats. Let's get to this final break. All right, everybody, it's almost the new year, which probably means you have big goals, but if you're like me, you've probably got no time to cook. Well, that's why Factor's been huge, because Factor makes it easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs, so you can eat well without the shopping or cooking. And in every Factor meal, you're looking at quality, functional ingredients, including lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats. There's no refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, and no refined seed oils. And you get great variety, 100 rotating meals every week. It's always fresh, never frozen, ready in about 2 minutes, no prep, and no stress. I use this, and you should too. Head to factormeals.com/PHLY50off and use code PHLY50off to get 50% off your first Factor box, plus free breakfast for 1 year. Offer only valid for new customers with code and qualifying auto and renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor. Whether your favorite team wins or not, there's always another way to win on the BetParx online casino app. You got to check out brand new games like Huff and More Puff and Fireblaze Sky Queen, a BetParx exclusive. You can play blackjack, you can play roulette, craps, poker, baccarat, and hot online slots like Cash Eruption and 88 Fortunes. You can play all your favorite classic casino games from wherever you are, and new users right now get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Play hot online slots based on your favorite streaming shows like The Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, Peaky Blinders, and all your favorite classic casino games from wherever you are. It's the only app I ever use to play all my favorite casino games in the palm of my hand. Just go to betparx.com and download the app right now to enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for BetParx. You love to play. You play to win. You bet. BetParx. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's go Flyers. Oh, those Let's Go Flyers ads just make me so happy tonight. All right, before we get to all your Super Chats, I know that they have been pouring in. We have to do our giveaway, our first of 3 giveaways for the Flyers Charities Carnival. And I know a lot of people have been waiting to hear me say this as it comes to the draft lottery simulator, but we're doing it for our giveaway tonight. Brenna, spin that wheel. All right, so this is going to be for our first of 5 winners tonight, and it is Ray Polena. Ray Polena, you just won a pair of general admission tickets to the Flyers Charities Carnival on February 1st. So make sure you check your email for those. We're going to give away 4 more. Brenna, spin that wheel. All right, our next one goes to Shane Holland. Shane Holland, congratulations. You are going to the Flyers Charities Carnival with a friend. 3 more to go here. Let's see what we have. And the winner is Michael Para. Michael, you just won 2 tickets to the Flyers Charities Carnival. Couple more to go here. It's going to be Eve McIntyre. Eve, you have won a pair of tickets, and our final winner of a pair of tickets to the Flyers Charities Carnival on Sunday, February 1st is TJ McCormick. So congratulations. Check your emails in a little bit. I will be forwarding you those tickets so you can get in. You can come see our live show, all that fun stuff that goes along. I'm going to be in the dunk tank at some point. Maybe you want to come.
Seriously?
Yeah, I've done it a few years in a row. I had to leave last year.
I might fly out for that.
I've ruined a few pairs of pants doing it, so we'll see what kind of costume I can get into this year. But it's always a great time. The charity, no matter what you think of the team, the carnival is great for the community. It's a great tradition, and they've been doing it over 50 years. So we will see those 5 winners and their plus ones there. All right, let's start with these super chats. First one is from our pal R Park. He says, but he's a culture guy with 1 point all season. Yeah, listen, I like Garnet Hathaway a lot. He was scratched a few times a little bit ago. He's this one hurts. This one really hurts. That could have been a nice. All right, you know what? He's only got 2 goals, but he just put this one away. Great. But I know anyone who's got that culture guy tag, especially after this sort of game, is going to get burned. I'm not going to tell anyone how to fan. That was a rough one. That was a freaking rough one. All right, let's see what we have next here from our pal JH. Tonight, I do not choose chill. I can't believe I stayed up for that absolute dog water, terrible performance. Boo. Yeah, I think that's how we're all feeling. And I have to give a shout out to my wife, Ava Graham. Happy birthday. This is how I am spending the first hour of your birthday by hosting this show that I'm just mad about. But, got to pay those bills. But yeah, I think all fans kind of agree there. Another one here from JH. You know what will fix everything? A culture guy. We're gonna get a lot of this tonight, Petey.
Yeah.
Just as a guy who's been on a coaching staff for, you had like 2 decades with the Coyotes, Team North America, your resume, real long. Culture guy. Is that a real thing?
I mean, you have good guys in the room, but I talked about that with accountability, and it's those leadership guys. But what happens with the fourth line guys and the backup goalie is guys like those guys because they always have those good personalities, and hey, they're a good locker room guy. A good locker room guy and a good culture guy are different. Sidney Crosby's a culture guy, works his butt off in the weight room, on the ice, does the right thing, says the right thing. That's a culture guy. Like those are the guys you want to be around that are winners. Like a guy that's playing 8 to 10 minutes a game. I mean, how much can they influence the game on and off the ice? I don't know. But yeah, absolutely. You can have a culture guy in the room. It's a guy that works his butt off in all aspects, and he does it on the ice as well.
And you mentioned Couturier as the captain in pregame, a guy who now I think it's been 22 games since his last goal. He is nowhere near the player he was when he was, a finalist and winning Selkies and things like that. When you're not producing, it becomes a lot harder to be a leader. And I do think that is a little bit of an issue for a lot of the veterans like Hathaway, like Couturier right now. It does feel like they need, I know, oh yeah, well, they need a Crosby or McKinnon. We're talking about generational players. But dudes who scare the hell out of you, you can't screw up because you're getting yelled at, again, not by your coach, by one of the best players on the team. They need someone like that, and
100%.
does feel like a big hole right now.
Yeah, and I'll go, and I know we're running long here. We're almost into overtime. Like a Keith Tkachuk in the locker room back in the early days of the Coyotes, dude. You played the right way, or he was going to tell you about it, and it was going to be vicious, and it was going to be personal, and it was going to be hard. And those guys are gone. You don't see as much of that. Last guy that came to the locker room, I already said it, was Brad Richardson. He's going to tell you that that's not a guy that won a Stanley Cup, and he's going to tell you how you win. And if you're not doing it, he's going to tell you. And I do think that that's something that's missing from the soccer room right now. I'm not in the room, so I can't say that definitively. And I don't know what kind of a leader Couturier is, but you're right. I think when you look at his stat line, it's a guy that's going to, it's hard to carry weight when we're not putting up those numbers. I will say effort overweighs all that. So as long as you're putting out on the ice, you can say whatever you want in that room.
All right. Next one here is from JH again. He just says, Petey, you have a lot of fans in the chat, Petey. I do think everyone appreciates when we get to have you on. So that's
funny. I appreciate that, but I did just see a comment. If anybody, just a few, but I don't know if I can scroll up and see that. Can I see that? If you or your loved one have ever been exposed to Rick Tocchet, you may be entitled to find out. Dude, I worked for him for years. Yeah, I went home in tears some days. Trust me. Like there's some tough. Dude is tough, man. Yeah, you work underneath him for a few years. You'll have the battle scars for sure. But he's a guy that competes and wants to win, and he's a guy that wears that Flyer orange very, very, very proudly. So when this turns around, he's a guy you're going to want to have the end of it.
There is a large contingent of fans that have not warmed to head coach Rick Tocchet yet. Everyone loves what he did as a player. I mean, badass. Yep. But it hasn't quite got there yet. They probably need to win a little bit more.
Yep.
All right. Next super chat here is from Flyers-induced heartache. Yeah, I feel you. The range of the emotions this team puts me through, sad face. Yeah, and that's like Charlie's point. The inconsistency isn't just maddening game to game where they look like world beaters one day and then they just flat out have nothing the next. We saw it tonight. They were the better team for 45, 52 minutes of this game, and they lose 5-4 in overtime. Like, that is a roller coaster that I don't love. I wish I wasn't tall enough to get on this ride sometimes, but it is the life we have chosen as Flyers fans. Hashtag 1975. All right. I feel bad saying this to a guy who, like, the team just got taken away, but, you know, we all have our battles. All right, Dylan Forster says, surely at this point, we should know not to loosen up our structure because we're up by 3. We have a goalie who can't bail out chaos, yet we did. That was, like I brought up with Charlie, the ease through which, in the second half of the third period, Utah was moving through the neutral zone. It was like a drill. It was like a break-in, break-out drill where there's like one forechecker, maybe. That's not how you defend a lead. And for a team that focuses so much on like playing the right way and defense first, that's not what I saw late in the third tonight. Very, very frustrating. And of course, Ersson, while I think he was okay for the most part, you see 5 goals on 27 shots, no one's going to cut him a break after the season he's had. Next one here is from Mellerman. It says, Juulsen sticking up for Drysdale, sure, but does it have to be a fight? At the whistle, push, shove, sneak a punch, scrum. Think about the game situation. When you are trying to build a culture the way they are, like, I don't know, does Tampa ever care about the situation? But again, like, Tampa's got guys going to the Olympics specifically because they're awesome at killing penalties. The Flyers do not. There's just a bit of a... I have trouble with this one because I always want to defend a teammate, but also, man, maybe don't take that. It's a tough one. It's a tough call. Get a save, get a stop. Like, I don't know, score a shorthanded goal. Do something to make that fight meaningful rather than something where, like, oh, freaking Juulsen. At the end of the day, Juulsen's in there to be physical. Like, that's his job. He picks up an assist tonight, but no one is expecting him to ever show up on the score sheet other than hits and pims. And he did something that he's kind of paid to do tonight as the 7th defenseman and filling in for Risto now, and it bit them. It's bad, just bad luck, bad situation, bad situational team, honestly. All right. From Spelba? Spelba says, horrendous coaching, 4th line out with 2 minutes left. I did question that at the time, and listen, if Hathaway buries the empty netter, it's like, cool. I was wondering this. It gets made a big deal in other sports, Petey. I feel like we never hear it about Utah or Colorado in the NHL. Is the altitude an issue?
I mean,
I don't know.
The reality is yes, but your body can't acclimate to that unless you're there for 3 or 4 days. Teams, Colorado can go on a 5-game Eastern road trip, come back. They got to play in Colorado too. So yeah. I think it's probably a little bit overblown. But I will say that's a really sharp and astute comment on the 4th line being out there. And what happened with that 4th line, they got caught out there several times off of icings, and they were able to. The Utah Mammoth were able to put out the Keller line out against that 4th line several times. Yeah, it was a curious that they were out there with the goalie pulled. I don't know. I don't know if he had the confidence in them at that time that these are guys that are responsible players. Like Peterson's a responsible player, but he's been in the American League. So I don't know.
And that's the other end of it. It is a diminished 4th line right now. It's not Rodrigo Abels. It is Lane Peterson, who is his 2nd game in the NHL this year. That is a little bit of a concern, like, but you got to be able to play your guys. It is a questionable. I will say that's a bit of a questionable call there as we now head to overtime. Go to allphly.com to finish tonight's show as we make our way through the rest of these super chats. All right, this one is from DA Flyers Man. Do other teams ever get called for instigator? It's a frustration of mine. They do. I just, we saw one a couple of weeks ago where it's not even like the guy faked the glove drop. It's just they kind of got stuck. And I think it was Hathaway who ended up dropping his gloves first. So there was no instigator. And like, it's frustrating, but they lost because they can't protect the lead. Kill the penalty. Teams kill penalties all the time too. Be better than 50% since New Year's Eve. That would be nice. All right. Next one is Flyers induced heartache again. 3 different chances at the empty net, 0 for 3, and references Kolosov. Yeah, that's the egregious one is Hathaway, but Konechny had a couple shots at it. They had one on the left wing that got blocked. Score on the empty net, and this isn't a problem. This isn't a blown lead. It's still like, oh, that was a little closer than it needed to be, but it's still 2 points in regulation, and okay, cool. Winning road trip, house money going into Colorado. Next one here is Hat-Trick Patrick. What's up, Patrick? All it took was one not his fault goal to make Ersson let 3 baby S softies in. How many times do we have to watch this movie?
Until Vladar gets back, I guess, because the other alternative is not any better than Ersson. I tell you that.
No, they're just like I said with the forward depth and pregame. You see the problem with the goalie depth here is what do? Put in Kolosov after he just was terrible the other night. Maybe Vladar is back on Friday for Colorado, but even then, like, is he Dominik Hasek? Well, then, good luck. But yeah, Ersson's not going to get any slack, even though I thought he was okay for the most part tonight. Next one is Bull Squash 52.99. Cates looked invisible with Michkov and Brink. I did like some of what that line did, but it was a lot of the 2 wingers and not so much Cates, I would say. He seems to have Michkov pretty decent chemistry with Brink. I liked him with Barkey a lot. Wish we got more of that. I wouldn't say this was a great game for Cates, though. All right, we have a few more coming up, I believe. Yep, Patrick again. If Tocchet doesn't call that timeout, the game is 6-3 at the end of the second. It absolutely worked. Sadly, you only get 1 timeout per game. No, he had to call it after that. After the second goal. I kind of was hoping for it after the first, but like Charlie said, it's not the magic fix-all we all remember from Game 7 against Boston. That was a tremendous confluence of events, but since many of us lived through Peter Laviolette and he seemed to just really have the touch with the timeouts, we do harp on it a little bit, maybe more than necessary. What if you just don't run around for 6 minutes? What if you just played your structure? But in basketball, they get a lot of timeouts, and they seem to be effective. With only 1, it's tough. All right. Next one is J.E. Frucione. What's up, J.E.? Enough with losing games because of a tough D-zone pass. It's time to look at the coach. Do you think Michkov would have scored that empty net? Maybe trust your offensive players when you don't have many. This isn't the 87 Oilers. Mish does have an empty netter this year. He's been out in that situation a couple of times. I just, like, that's never going to be the situation he's out there. Maybe in a 2-goal game. I have trouble looking at the coach halfway through. We're 49 games into a season. I'm like, I don't know. We've been through so many coaches. I just have trouble caring that much about the freaking coach, even though I do have my qualms and things I do like about Tocchet. The players have to get it done at a certain point.
They're 5 points better than they were a year ago after 49 games on a team that hasn't made a lot of roster changes. The zegras edition, 5 points better on average. That's going to put this team 8 to 10 points better than a year ago. Is that a successful season? The answer is yes. They're not going to sell at the trade deadline. I mean, I go ahead and look at the roster and specifically go down and look at the middle of the ice. Like I know that you want to get wins, but Dvorak's not a 1C. Couturier, Cates, and Lane Peterson tonight. Like, go look at the top teams in the National Hockey League and go look down the middle of the ice and see what they have out there. This team isn't that. Like, I don't know what coach is going to make this team a playoff team right now. I don't think that this is now. Is he making all the decisions that I would make? I'm not in the room. I'm not on the bench. I will say this, though. This isn't a roster that's ready to be a team that's competing for a Stanley Cup. Danny Briere is going to tell you that. Rick Tocchet said that before the season started. This is a team that's rebuilding and trying to make steps forward. They're 5 points better than they were a year ago right now. Is that better? Maybe it's not good enough, but if Vladar is healthy through some of these losses, maybe it's 8 or 10 points now. So again, it is frustrating. Everybody wants to win a cup every year, and you have to face reality at times and look at your roster. This team's not ready. They don't have enough good players. They don't have enough good offensive players. They don't defend well enough, and they certainly don't have enough good goaltending. So there's so many holes yet to fill, and they're building their way to do that. Baby steps, get better, and they just got better.
They don't have enough good players. They don't defend all that well. The goalies aren't great. The special teams are bad. But other than that, things are going well. Yeah. Hard to blame the coach when you really put it in that sort of perspective. All right, next one here is Patrick again. Sam Ayerson's summary censored for YouTube. Even if you make 80 saves, if you S1 or 3 or 4 bricks, you're not a save maker. You're a brick esser. I kind of like that summation.
Yeah, you needed a big save. You needed a big save. You did. You
a
big
did
save in this game.
One more.
Is a win.
One more.
Yep.
And they didn't get it. So that's 100% true. All right. Next one. Obi-Wan just says, boo. I agree. That's very much how I felt, honestly, from halfway through the third, through the end of this thing. Next one. Oh, that's it. Wow, we got through them all. And that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers Postgame. Petey, it is always a pleasure being joined by a former NHL coach. Tremendous, really fun. I hope we get to do this again soon.
Bill, I need to get a win, though. And thanks for having me on again today. And I hope I wasn't too harsh on that last one. It just gets frustrating because I've seen this movie before. I lived this movie. And it does get better. And you can see it with Denver Barkey and players like that. They go, oh, okay, there are some good young players coming up through this system. And there's so many good players that are drafted or playing in the minors that are still coming and developing. It's just, unfortunately, it takes time. And I know it's hard to wait, and it's incredibly difficult, but again, better strides, baby steps, couple of wins here when they get home, and you're right back in. You're 3 points out of the playoffs right now. Even after a horrific stretch, you're still only 3 points out.
All right, and that is that. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for hanging out. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Follow us right here in the PHLY Sports YouTube page, and follow the podcast wherever you get those at PHLY_Flyers on Twitter. And check out Petey, S. Peters Hockey on Twitter. Tremendous breakdowns. He's all over the place. We are lucky to have him here when we do. But that is it for us. I am Bill Matz. That is Steve Peters. Thank you, as always, to Bryn. A tremendous job. Till tomorrow, be excellent to each other.